Western powers?
Is Britain, United Kingdom, a Western power? Or shall we change islands as Haiti, formerly under a Western power? Yes, so what is inaccurate about the statement?
Well, because you were complaining about the fact that they came in and they hired people, but you were not complaining about the fact that they forced them to work. Now I have to go look this up.
Very clever, by the way. All right, so let me get back on the topic.
It's well established. There's no reason to look it up. It's well established.
Yeah. He's trying to get on it. What I did explain to you, my personal, because we like to say, well, do you have personal experience? Yes. I watched CIA agents hand out guns to children in the fucking ghetto, right? Witness personal that. Thereby destabilize a government that was leaning pro-Castro, pro-communist, right? Then I went on to explain that this thing was so ridiculous with the West, with America in particular, that Guyana, where my father is from, who said, we want to be absolutely neutral. Because you guys made the point that, well, America can't have communist, thing, and, the Soviet Union, playing around so close in the neighborhood. And I said, okay, fine. But Guyana had no interest. Because, yes, under Michael Manley, he was leaning towards Cuba. And he wanted to. But because of the abuse of the multinationals and the support they got, and the fact that, he was looking out for his people is all good leadership, because your point is like, oh, well, you guys have all these bad leaders and, what do you expect, blah, blah, kind of talk about that. Like, well, not all of them were that way. Yes, you do have dictators, but some were looking out for the people and were not satisfied with the bullshit treatment they were getting. And the fact even that Cuba had the revolution to begin with, to get up from under Batista, because Batista was cooperating with the criminals and the underworld of North America. They turned the Cuban people into whores and servants. And they were having that. So anyway, I just was very curious about the coconut thing, because again, well, I guess they were quite happy sitting in the tree sipping their coconuts. Right. Not how it works, brother. And while, yes, Western institutions have value and do, did impart benefits or can, the way they were introduced was shitty. But again, you're championing, these
things. You were not complaining about that day. You were not complaining about the historical slavery in the Caribbean. Maybe that's what you should have been complaining about.
That wasn't the lead. No, that was not the lead take, because I was bringing it to more modern times. Why go to slavery when some of this shit literally happened? But in my lifetime. Look,
I mean, if you were complaining about the slavery, I would condemn that, right? I condemn slavery left, right, and center. In fact, one of the reasons, weirdly enough, people like AJ think that I'm racist is because I condemn slavery. Isn't that weird?
I'll say this. I'm not sure if you're racist, as I said earlier, But some of what you said was questionable. I just didn't see it important.
So, Richard, how would you deal with this? Let me ask you this question. How would you deal with this conundrum? When I condemn racist genocide, people call me a racist.
I need to hear more context, Benjamin.
How do we live in a world that is so goddamn stupid that when you condemn genocide by race, people call you a racist?
But who said that was the reason? No, but that's what you're saying, no. I will have to hear the other side.
Look, AJ
so you're asking me to say
look, that... If I condemn, as I do, a God who is portrayed as killing Egyptian children in the Bible, all the people will come up and say, oh my God, you're a racist. Why are you saying that? Well, it's right there in the text. And they get mad at me for pointing out the text that they're putting their hand on when they swear allegiance to God and country. If I point out that the text that they're so in love with is a racist piece of shit, and the God that they pray to and they put on their coin and their flag and everywhere else they can find to put it is a piece of shit, racist, genocidal killer, they turn around and they say to me, oh, you're being a racist. How do we get into this weird conundrum world where you can't even criticize slavery or genocide without being called a racist?
I'll give you that.
Answer that?
Hello?
You guys want to answer that?
Hello?
So I'll give you this. I too have a problem with religious texts seems to support abhorrent practices that isn't called out by the practitioners. And that's kind of my general overall, or one of the general overall problems I have with.
Wait a minute. Can I take you to the quote at the top of the goddamn room? Because this is a quote that comes right out of the text. This is a modern guy. This is the year 2020, I think, something like that. This is a modern dude. He's not 15,000 years old. He's a modern dude, and he's making this statement right out of the text. So go back to what you were just saying. Is the followers don't somehow use the text? Is that what you were saying?
No. What I said is that if there is religious text that is supportive of abhorrent, racist, misogynist, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Practices, behaviors, whatnot, and the followers of said religion don't call it out. That's a problem for me personally.
No, I agree with you.
But the criticism I do have of religious belief. No, and I personally, that's one of the things that took me away from being a religious person, because I was raised in the tradition of Christianity. My mother, one of the most devout, honest persons about it I ever met. Much more than a lot of the others.
So, Richard, do you think that we just need to get rid of some of our bad ideas so that we can do better things in this world?
When you say bad ideas, well, there's another side to religion where some of the kindest, most helpful, most, humane people have discovered in church, in a church setting. So, not necessarily ready to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. And religion, needs to learn to self-correct some of these things, because what may have been a practice in the past, the child marriages and all that, we can now see our, errors need to be corrected and should be called out to.
Do you think those nice people that you met in the church are only nice because they read a Bible about a God who kills children and is happy when you dash the baby's skull against the... You know what? Maybe we need to do a reading. We need to do a Bible reading. You need to just take a brief moment.
Yeah, and real quick, Benjamin, before you do that, when you call out people who support genocide because of their religious ideology, to me, that's not being a racist or a prejudiced person. You're just calling out people holding a bad religious ideology. I don't see it has to do with any human, cultural, ethnical, different divide, right? It's just about their beliefs.
Yeah, I separate people from their ideas, and I think people need to figure out how to separate their own damn self from the ideas that they've been groomed with. That's part of what it means to be an adult. If you haven't cut the apron strings, if you haven't decided for yourself what religion you're going to be, you haven't grown the fuck up.
Yeah, so I don't see any correlation with that with being prejudiced, bigoted, or quote-unquote racist, right?
All right, I want to just read, I want to take a minute to center our thoughts and really, we come to the blessed word of God this morning desperately in need of only the kind of clarity and love that the Bible offers. God's words to his people, God's word to his creation, God's word to us, the timeless wisdom, the glorious timeless wisdom that can only come from the word of God. And the reading today is from the blessed book of Psalms, written by Solomon, the wisest man in the tradition. And it comes to us today from the 137th Psalm. And I'll start reading at verse 9. Remember, Lord, what the Edomites did on that day Jerusalem fell. Tear it down, they cried. Tear it down to its foundations. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction. Happy is the one who repays you. according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. So, after the reading, I want us to just sit quietly and reflect on the beautiful words of God as spoken by his prophet Solomon. Let the word of God move within your heart. Let it bring you to a place of understanding and knowledge that none of Dr. James's psychotropic drugs can do, and none of the marijuana you've been smoking can get you to a place that you can only get to if you've read the good word from God Almighty, expressed through his servant, his slave, dare I say, the King Solomon the Great. And I'll just read the last verse one more time, in case the first time you missed it. Verse 9 of the Psalms, the 137th Psalm. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Now, if you're old enough to pee on your own without your parents' help, you're old enough to lose your own goddamn religion. And if you've decided that the religion for you is the one where God says, happy is the one who sees your infants and dashes them against the rocks, you, my dear friend, are a fucking moron. Are we clear? If you want to change your religion out this morning, I ask you to come forward with a small fee of $149. I will set you up with a brand new religion. I've got offerings for $39. I can get you set up with a Pastafarian account. You can pray to the giant spaghetti monster. If you want a deluxe religion, I can get you set up with Scientology. That's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. It may not be for everybody. But we've got an entry deal today, 25% off your first e-reading. If you want an old religion that feels familiar, but doesn't have Psalms 137 in it, I can recommend Zoroastrianism.
Hey, Benjamin, do you remember earlier, I forget who said that maybe it was Pro or somebody, were like, maybe it was Gero, I don't know, but I was talking about like, geopolitics and how the United States, sometimes it seems like we help our enemies, and we do it for reasons to stave off like an even worse enemy. There's just like awesome examples of just like helping the people, some like resistance fighters in like Afghanistan in the 1990s or whatever. Like that to stave off like an even worse enemy. I think this kind of this religious stuff is kind of like that in a sense where we should be empowering people, the James Tallaricos of the world, to help them fight off the worst threats like the Jerry Falwells of the world. Do you agree with that?
I understand this instinct And this, to be fair to my good rabbi down there, Caleb, who's listening, this is exactly the kind of compromising soul that he is as well, right? This is somebody who he doesn't want to say that a God who kills children and recommends dashing their heads against the rocks is a piece of shit God, and anybody who worships a piece of shit like that ought to reflect on their poor life choices, right? He wants to say that there's one verse in James that says, true religion is this, undefiled, that you take care of the widows and orphans, and kind of gloss over the rest of it. Now, in my mind, this is like pointing out that Epstein probably gave at least $1 million to a very good cause. And that somehow we should pretend as though Epstein is a good guy because he gave money to a good cause. When in fact, Epstein is a really bad, nasty piece of shit. And the fact that he gave $100 million to a good cause just doesn't change the fact that he's a nasty piece of shit. And God is in the same boat, in my opinion. God is a nasty piece of shit. And if you think that the fact that somewhere, somehow...
Wait, be careful, Benjamin. You might be projecting your own nasty piece of shit onto God. You might be the nasty piece of shit that you're claiming God is. Hello?
Oh, I have been fooled. I have made an error.
Well, you...
So...
Doesn't mean that you
you're
take into
broken up.
consideration.
What were you saying?
No, I was just pointing out the error that you saw as soon as you heard that guy.
Oh. Yeah, you didn't get to, anyway. I don't know. What do you think, Elliot? Do you think this guy is the salvation of the world? I mean, I think we can always find somebody who is going to represent a heinous religion in the nicest way possible. And I mean, Caleb does a good job at this. Caleb is very good at what he does, which is he dresses up a horrible, nasty, genocidal, slave-promoting religion as if it were some kind of modern humanitarian tradition. It's full of bullshit, and he knows it. And this guy that's Pro's friend, who says nice things and then connects them to Jesus, I think is guilty of the same problem. It's that at the end of the day, you're kind of gilding, you're putting lipstick on the pig, right? And the problem isn't the lipstick. The lipstick is fine. The problem is the pig.
Okay, there's definitely a pig in here somewhere.
Hey man, I like pigs. Pigs are great.
I think you answered my question by denying the basic premise that they are distinct, that James Tallarico is different from Jerry Falwell. I think you're denying that basic premise. That's one problem. The other thing too that's really important here is that we can, we don't have to fight the entire war in a single battle. We can take one battle at a time. Okay, so after we get rid of the Jerry Falwells, we can move on to like a different, we can have a more nuanced discussion about the rest of the pig. You know what I mean?
Don't be picking on my James Tallarico.
Yeah, Benjamin,
I was kind of picking on you, James Tallarico. I got to admit, Pro. Honestly,
you put him in the same category as a Farwell? Really? You put Tallarico in the same religious?
No, I wouldn't put them. I wouldn't put Caleb in the same category as this guy at the top of the room, right? Caleb is not going to be saying that shit, right? But weirdly, they both pray to the same God. They both believe in the same book and the same Talmud, the same history, the same tradition, and lovey-dovey. They're all lovey-dovey with the same thing, and all they celebrate that same God who kills Egyptian babies on the Passover.
I think a big part of these kind of things when you do it this much, right, is like
we've all seen the reports on the news back like maybe 15 years ago. They started doing these kind of reports where someone would walk into like a store, right? Be like a Christmas tree shop, right? To try to keep it grounded in religion. You walk in the Christmas tree shop and there's 95% of the store, everything's made in China, right? And it's like, are you a communist? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, it's like, are you supporting communism by shopping at the Christmas tree shop? And it's like, well, yesterday I was only half kidding where I had to use the bathroom and I walked inside of Hobby Lobby. Now, I'm aware of Hobby Lobby's political, religious affiliations, and I don't really want to support that, but not so much that I would rule out buying something if I had to. There's going to be, like, I didn't, right? And I am thinking about it. It does weigh heavy on my mind, right? I think about that if I'm at Chick-fil-A. Am I going to shop at Target? My political slants on things like,
Target?
Well, they largely didn't back any of the DEI kind of initiatives and doubled down on it, and kind of looked like they couldn't wait till Trump initiated the anti-DEI, and they were like, yeah, we're changing our hiring practices immediately. So they really jumped full on board with that. So there was a massive African-American protest of Target and citizens in general.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as loud as some of the others, but what my point is, obviously we can do this at some point, and you can't say that I'm pro-communism because I chose to buy a product at a store that's largely Chinese in terms of what its imports are. And it's like, when you have that much of a black and white kind of take on it, I would argue that you're going to drive yourself nuts. Now, it's applaudable if you can pull it off and you've been that diligent and you're sitting down, you're writing a chart of all the places. And in some cases, I'm that weird with certain places that I choose not to shop at. But even I admit that I can't do this all the time, and I can only do a little bit better than I did the day before. And I'm not going to drive myself nuts. You know what I mean? Like, what I already do probably would drive most people nuts. But I don't want to be labeled hypocritical because one day I failed. Right, and that you're like, well, Pro supports, communism. He's a traitor or something. It's like, really? Is that what I am? Because I'm doing it better than you are? I'm now a traitor? Is it that you're uncomfortable with my lack of consistency was not 100% while you're at 32%? Is that what we're arguing about? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so at what level are we going to require people to ascribe to this kind of philosophy?
I want to suggest a better take for Benjamin. I want to suggest that he consider
Better
this
take, less suck.
Yeah, better take, more effective take. I think that Rabbi Yosef, or whatever his name is, Rabbi Yosef, is distinguished primarily by the fact that his views are extreme and rejected by Jews, and by the fact he couldn't have those views, maybe shouldn't say couldn't have those views, but I think it's very clear that he is the guy he is because of Judaism. It's Judaism that made him that way.
No, it's not Judaism that made him that way. It's politics, it's physics, it's a reaction and a reaction. He is responding to a primarily Arab Jewish crowd that lives in Arab countries, and that's what they want to hear. They want to hear Gentile and Arab hate because that's what they understand, because these people came without an education. They only understand the blunts and the dichotomous. Not in any way representative of world Jewry. And
I didn't say he was. That's my
not
point.
The Judaism that brought him to that.
No, it's absolutely the Judaism that made him that way. It doesn't make most people that way.
How did the Judaism make him that way? Where does it say? It says, love thy neighbor as thyself, love the Edomite, and love the Egyptian.
Do you think that Rabbi Yosef, absent Judaism, do you think he'd still be saying the same stuff that he's saying? It's the same thing with right-wing Christians, evangelical Christians. And a lot of my Christian friends say, "Oh, those aren't real Christians." Are you fucking kidding me? They go to church more. They read the Bible more. They believe in God more strongly. They pray more. They wear their religion on their sleeve. They are who they are because of Christianity.
Wait. I'll give you this, that regardless of what religion, and all religions, there are aspects that teach this kind of hate and this kind of, I agree with you on that. In this case, you're saying that it was the religion of Rabbi Yosef that was Jewish, so Judaism taught him that, right? But we agree that it's not exclusively Jewish. Had he been, like you said...
Absolutely. This is what happens with organized religion.
Absolutely.
You always get Rabbi Josephs. You always get evangelical Christians overwhelmingly supporting Donald Trump because they are Christians. It's because of Christianity that they are the people they are.
Well, wait. We could bring up Rabbi Ann Buchstahl, for example, who's a Reform rabbi in New York, and we could bring up Rabbi Sachs, who would also tell you it's because of our Judaism that we have this love of the world and love of justice. And
they would say that, just like some of my friends might say that. I don't believe that for a moment. My good friends who call themselves Christians are just good people. Christianity had nothing to do with making them good people.
Well, look. I'm not disagreeing with you. I loathe religion just like the next guy. I think we're on the same page with that. But I wouldn't speak in Rabbi Sachs's name. I don't know. Maybe he read the line that says, "All men and women are created in the eyes of God, are in God's image," and maybe that turned him off because he was looking for something good. You know, it's what you're looking for. It's a tool, and I agree that this tool provided material for evilly inclined people. I agree with that. But it's not only to one religion.
Yeah, and once again, I never said that. This is what organized religion does. This is the thing it does. It doesn't make people good. Good people may call themselves Christians and Jews, but they're not good because they're Christians and Jews. Only religion can make a hateful bigot.
All right, I think that in some cases they learn bigotry from what they're taught in religion. But at the end of the day, every existentialist will tell you that we make the choices, we filter out, we emphasize, we focus. But okay, I'm not going to disagree that religion has been a tool for some who have been inclined that way, and it enhanced their thinking in that direction. Okay, I'll give you that.
See how effective that was, Benjamin?
My man. I heard you, John. I wanted to ask Stanley a question. I don't get to see him very often. Stanley, by the way, in case you didn't know, this guy, his party has 10, 11 seats in the Knesset. He's not like some small fry that doesn't represent any Jews at all. I don't know how many 10, 11 seats it is. I don't know how big the Knesset is. Is it 100 maybe?
What are you saying that Rabbi Yosef is influenced? First of all, this guy's been dead for 13 years, okay?
Yeah. His son took over as the head rabbi of the Sephardic.
But you know as well as I do, you mentioned a political body. You didn't mention a synagogue.
Called?
What?
Shas, the Shas party?
Well, it's a party, and they have many, many issues, and they have many motivations for saying the things that they say. It's not all theological. And they use theology, but it doesn't matter about what they're saying either.
Stanley, just a quick question, just of the room and certain people. Am I a ravenous racist for having called out this quote by Rabbi Ovadia, or was he a piece of racist for having said it?
Well, I was the first one who said he was a shit the day he even thought of becoming a rabbi. Why would you be a racist? You disagree with what he says.
I mean, both things could be true. I mean, like, I don't think I think both things could be true. I don't think you're a ravenous racist. I think you might be a low-level garden variety passive racist. That's possible too, right? Like those things are possible. I wanted to push back on John just a little bit. While I largely agree, I can't be as absolute as Benjamin. Your point, like I got to protect my James Larico binky, like the same religion that made James go.
No. Do you think Christianity made James Tallarico a good person? Do you think that's what happened?
We gotta be fair with that, because what I'm saying is religion doesn't mechanically produce your character. People select how they use religion. What a person's going to optimize for before they ever touch the toolkit, right? It could be power, it could be status, it could be service, it could be, in the case of my biggie, James Tallarico, it could be repairing, harm. I just think that religion doesn't necessarily determine your ethics. It just gives you a better language to express whatever the ethics are that you've already chosen.
Well, I think that's right too. But I mean, the point is that I want to concentrate on people who are the people they are because of their religion. And I maintain that none of my good friends who call themselves Christians would be any different if Christianity wasn't a thing.
But we know people on this app or out of this in the real world that they were in prison and they were evil, bad people that did everything that you shouldn't do, and somehow they got religion into them and they behaved a lot better. So you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point. I mean, I think those are the exceptions that prove the rule, right? There are those cases, but there's just not enough of them to say. The problem, I tell my good friends who are Christians all the time, I say, the only problem I have with you is you give Christianity a good name that it doesn't deserve.
That's wonderful. I mean, the thing is, I do agree with the last part of, second to last part of what you said. Like, ideally, but I don't think we're able to separate out who is who. Like, I don't think you're able to say that you know enough about James Tallarico that it wasn't the religion for him that actually did it. That could have been his pathway. I don't think it is. I stick by what I said. I think a lot of times people, they're confusing the religious identity thing with, the authoritarian personality and all the grievance politics and the social sorting stuff that we do. I think religion can become like the rapper and not the engine. And it's exactly the same analytical mistake we can make if we're blaming Islam for terrorism. And that's kind of where I'm getting to with Benjamin, because it's a close cousin. If you're going to say Judaism is responsible for the extremist rabbis or Christians for the Christian nationalists, right? It's like, we don't know that to be true. I do agree with you, John, that my instinct would say that more often than not, that probably is the case. But if somebody came to Christianity as a 25-year-old, then I'm not willing to say that. I'm willing to say that their life experiences brought them to Christianity, or the pain and the suffering, whatever, and they were looking for that language to rationalize the stuff they've been through, and then they find it, like Benjamin found this article inside of the Epstein files. You're looking for something and you go, aha, it's no coincidence that Benjamin found this article. He's already in tune looking for it, right?
Yeah, well, several of my Christian friends found Christianity primarily. They were always good people. I knew them before they were Christians, before they called themselves Christians in any big way. But they found Christianity primarily because they were looking for a place to commune with other good people, and they found it. Right? And none of those people are good because of Christianity. They're just going to church.
Let me write out then on my big chalkboard right here. So your treaty is then good people who are still good, who find Christianity, are the ones who already were good. And anyone who's bad essentially has been made bad by the religion. Is that about right?
It's not 100%, but I think it's overwhelmingly the case. Yeah.
Maybe, John, I'd say this, it's a chicken or egg argument, right? Is it the person's personality, their makeup, or is it the religion? I just tell person to person. I think it's an individualized thing. But I will say this: Christianity, or not religion, can be a catalyst either way, make you better or worse. That's the kind of problem it is. It organizes these forces and concentrates them. And if it's in the right direction, it's great. If it's in the wrong direction, you get terrorism, right?
What about the guy who shot the president? The guy who read Holden, what's the name of that book? Catcher in the Rye. And he said that inspired him to shoot.
Holden Caulfield?
Right, and he said
But he wasn't the writer. He was the character.
Obviously, he wasn't the writer. I'm sorry, I got confused. I just mentioned the character.
Yeah. I don't
think
you need religion to be motivated to take a stand on Donald Trump.
Yeah. My point. Okay. Well, back in the day, Reagan was there was an assassination attempt on Reagan, and wait a minute, I got that wrong. Wait a minute.
The Reagan assassination with John Hinckley, who was trying to impress Jodie Foster.
You know what? I got that wrong. It was the guy who shot John Lennon, and he read.
Yes, it was a Lennon assassin killing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What was the point you're making?
Not to be confused with the guy who played Greatest American Hero, who was Ralph Hinckley, who almost had to change his name because it coincided with the shooting when he was the star of that.
Can I point out something? Because I think people are doing something and criticizing.
Well, hold on, Benjamin. The gentleman, to be fair, was trying to make a point and got interrupted. Go ahead.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, he did. Go ahead, sir. What was your point? You raised the issue of that book inspired to say what?
Well, I think building on that was the pros point that if you're looking for something, you're going to find a tool to do it. And this guy who shot Lennon found that inspiration in the book. We're not going to blame the author, right? We're not going to blame American literature for saying that people assassinate presidents. It's what they do with it, right?
But there's a little bit more detail than that. I think, specific lines of argument in religious text, examples given and upheld,
Yeah, I agree.
color, the way, yes, it's the one. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. There are things there. That's why when one reads these texts, they have to come in with a complete heart and with a healthy mind and really see it, what the author intended, and just understand. But I understand what you're saying.
I'm hoping to share when it's appropriate. If I can join in on this.
Okay, I was gonna say something real fast.
Real quick, my take is that I like that you're discussing something of value, and it's important to know how people get to be on either side of the pendulum, where we want to be right in the center. And I believe it's like you're saying, religion does cause these squares or cubes to surround you, because your paradigm is going to be shaped by that quote-unquote thing we call religion. And then we're all living in little cubes in our own little paradigms, thinking we are on the way to El, the Isra in Arabic. It means the journey to Isra. Isra to El, meaning we're all on the way to God if we're Abrahamic faith. So when you listen to 3,000 years Confucius, he's saying the way. It's not a religion, it is a way of life. So Jesus comes in and they're still talking about the way. 200 years before in Turkey, they're talking about the way. It says if you're the obstacle in the way, you are the way. So Jesus 200 years later says, well, I'm the way. I am the truth and the light and the way. Because in research, you get a balance. And when you get to the teaching of the Procolitas, or the praiseworthy one, it begins with the opening chapter. It says, God, I don't want to be with these people. And I don't want to be with these people either. Show me the straight way. So when we're talking about the way, is no longer a religion. It becomes a walk to God. And you see people go on one side, denounce the Messiah, an extreme, and the other extreme worships the Messiah and the Buddha.
But again, it's a little more nuanced than that, though. We're sort of more interested in, what explains the difference between the religious views of Jerry Falwell and James Tallarico. What explains why they have distinct views?
Or your sacred cow becomes a cow, or whatever it is you're going to worship in life is beginning of the chapter. What is your sacred cow? Begins with that. If it's a woman or a man to marry, and that's your whole life, then God gives it to you. But if you're seeking a whole other realm, then you gotta be the one doing the checks and balances on yourself 24/7.
Right, you're the one doing the checks and balances. Like when the cow speaks, and you hear the words, it's you that's doing the interpreting. It's your intuitions, your feelings, your emotions, your background knowledge that you're using to interpret those words to find out what do they actually mean? What do they mean to you?
Well, do you end up with the yin or the yang? Or is your heart black like a stone? Or is it like a machine where you don't have emotions and feelings to judge properly what you see before your eyes? Or are you a human being with a white heart and not a black stone? Like the son of Adam who killed his brother, his heart was like a stone, a black stone. Doesn't matter how much you kiss the black stone. If your heart is dark, it's dark.
For the record, though, religion has brought people to tithe, all right, to give charity. And I think the Red Cross and the Red Crescent and the Magen David Adom is well, like religiously kind of inspired. Not to kill, respect your parents.
Stanley, can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
If this guy Epstein were to donate $100 million to charity, would you then change your opinion about?
Wait. That's no, Benjamin.
The sex that he's having with 13-year-old girls.
Benjamin, chill. No, we're not
talking. Because this is what you're doing. You're rehabilitating.
Okay. Right, you mentioned
you're rehabilitating a religion by saying, but they gave money to charity, so it's okay. I just wonder if you're that generous with everybody.
I did not say that, but I will say this. First of all, I don't really know, and I live abroad, and I don't know too much. I know a lot about the Epstein thing, but the only thing I know about Epstein was I don't think any Judaism came into his behavior. I think he just happens to be a Jewish guy that did those things, right?
Stanley, would it surprise you that I got this quote this morning because this quote showed up in the Epstein files because Epstein was literally using this quote in his correspondence with his other friends?
Hey, L Foundation, can you mute your mic? We're getting feedback from your mic.
I got it.
No. Let's go one step at a time. And Benjamin, you are a very logical and analytical person, so you know that when we say, okay, like when I said that religion encourages contributing, donating, right? It does do that, right?
Okay, so what if it does?
Okay.
Is that enough?
No, I didn't say that it's enough. But if we're going to be fair, if we're going to have fair coverage on the subject of religion, we're not just going to say, we're not going to be lopsided in our coverage. We're not going to say it causes people to kill when it also causes people to donate. We're going to mention all of that and then come to some kind of, I don't know that we have to come to an all or non-total conclusion. We just have to be honest. If this guy is donating money right now because his religion told him to do that, I think we have to acknowledge that. That's all. If you just want to, it's not the truth.
Well, I think you have to be careful with this, Stanley, because I think you're going to find that every murderer that's ever been electrocuted,
not because of religion.
At some point helped an old lady cross the street. You see what I'm saying?
You're trying to say, wait. You're trying to say that the bad outweighs the good.
Well,
yeah.
It's kind of hard to, how do you fix Epstein by just giving money to charity? You think that there's...
I never said that. You're making a connection that I never even insisted on or that ever even made myself. I'm just saying it's the same knife that cuts bread that cuts fingers, okay? You know what I'm saying? It's a tool. And Epstein...
Is this like a good people on both sides kind of argument?
No, wait. Epstein has nothing to do with Judaism. Epstein happens to have a Jewish name.
Well, don't jump to that conclusion.
Where does it say in any Bible passage to do what Epstein did? Where does it say that? And I don't know that if it says that, I don't know that he did it because it says it. I doubt that Epstein knows any Talmud or any Torah or anything, okay, any more than you and I do. What is the connection here? Now, Vet, you asked me earlier about racism. If in any way anyone's going to...
Stanley, I'm not trying to prosecute Judaism by saying it created Epstein. But I will say It was strange to find this Rabbi Ovadia Yosef and this quote in the Epstein files. Don't you think that's kind of remarkable?
Why would that be? He had a connection with Israel, and he talked to Ehud Barak and Netanyahu and a lot of people, and among them he also had something to do with Ovadia Yosef. But,
so Stanley, I want to give you a second, because it may take you a little longer than it takes everybody else here.
Why?
Well, because I think you should have got this already, and everybody else already figured it out.
Did they?
But can you imagine why, if you thought that non-Jews exist to serve Jews, it might encourage you to behave the way Einstein behaved?
Do you think that Epstein read that and believed that?
I don't know. But
that's exactly the point. We do not know. But we do not know. We do not imply that.
Do you think somebody would write this quote to their friends in confidence in an email if they didn't A, have those feelings, and B, think that the person they were talking to also shared those feelings?
Of course, people say things when they don't know that the other side shares or doesn't share those feelings. They're called narcissists.
Is this the kind of thing that you would share with your friend if you didn't A, think this, and B, think that they also thought it?
You're talking about one rabbi. Epstein knew hundreds of rabbis, okay? And some of them even said
this particular quote comes up in his correspondence. Don't you think it's a little weird?
Look, if you're in any way insinuating that there's something Jewish about what Epstein is doing, I am going to flatly deny that. And I just don't think it's because I'm Jewish, and I know a lot of Jewish people, and no one has done what Epstein has done. He didn't do it because he was Jewish. Just like, I don't know, think of any other crime out there, any other criminal out there. They didn't do it because of their beliefs in their religion anyway, or in their nationality. It has nothing to do with
Stanley, do you think that anybody has ever done something they ought not to have done because of their religion?
I beg your pardon?
Do you think anybody has ever been inspired by their religion to do something bad?
Of course they have been inspired.
9/11. Sorry, got a frog in my throat.
But Benjamin, once again, you know the exception to the rule, and you know the rule, and you know the people that misread things and misunderstand and misconstrue things. So
is it possible, Stanley, as John says, that sometimes people do bad things because of their religion?
I'm not denying any of that, and I'm glad you used the word sometimes, and that's all I care about, that you use the word sometimes. You know, and again, I don't have to advocate for Judaism because no one in this room is a racist, right? No one in this room is an anti-Semite. We all know that the fact is incidental that he's Jewish, and it's incidental that he did crimes. And that's all that we have here. We just have a guy with a Jewish name that did some shitty stuff. And we all know that there are jails in every one of the 200 countries in the world. And we know that there are rapists and counterfeiters and everything in every single country in the world. So why are we bringing up right now this guy's nationality or his ethnicity? What does that have to do with what he did?
Wait, did I bring up his nationality?
Well, you asked if you made the connection about Judaism. You said he talked to Rabbi Yosef. And
what I said, which came up out in the Epstein, and the link is in the description, although in the back channel, although it may take a while to find it. This quote showed up in the Epstein files.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the Epstein files. Okay. But what does that have to do? We want to know Judaism. You look at the Talmud, you look at the Torah.
Because I think it speaks to what John was saying. Is that religions can groom people to do bad things.
I'm not denying any of that.
If you needed an example of how religions can groom people to do bad things, here's an example. Look, here's a religious thought that was 1,000 years in the making. 1,000 years. You want me to go back to the Kabbalah and find this notion that the spark of deity lives only in the Jews, and the others are just there to service their carnal needs? These ideas go back.
The Kabbalah, yeah. And we know the word Kabbal, it means closed, it means few, it means exceptional. It's not mainstream Judaism, to boot. Okay, so right off the bat, most Jews are not influenced by the Kabbalah. right off the bat.
This is not a most Jews are influenced. This is a sometimes people do bad things and they're encouraged along by their religion, as John was saying.
I'm not denying that. I have not, but the connection here with Epstein is what concerns me, because you have to prove to me that Epstein was influenced by his religion to do bad things. If you want to talk in the general sense,
Stanley, would you
talk
accept?
about blood libels, you want to talk about pogroms, you want to talk about the Holocaust. Yes, they were all religiously somewhat inspired. I'm not going to deny that. You want to talk about jihad, you want to talk about, the whole thing written in the Torah about killing the Amalekites. I understand all that. But we're talking specifically about Epstein, and I don't see, unless I can be convinced that I'm open-minded, what did anything that in mentioned in the Talmud or the Torah or in the Zohar or any of these books said that Epstein will one day should and can and will do these things? Where does it say any of that?
Well, since you're asking, I think the example, Stanley, I think you're being a little slow here. So try to get it this time, because I repeated it 3 times. Look, Epstein uses this conversation, this non-Jews exist to serve the Jews, in a conversation with his compatriots in a scheme to bring teenage girls to an island so they could have sex with them on that island. And the attitude they're having is the only reason they exist in the first place is to serve our needs anyway, so why not? Now, that's just in the Epstein files. Now the question becomes, is this idea that non-Jews exist to serve Jews, is this in the religion? Well, here's a rabbi saying it. That's your first clue. But if you want more clues, one leading rabbi in Israel, but if you want the further clues, we can go and do the history work on this, Stanley. Yeah. We can go and dig up this idea as it winds its way through the religion for 1,000 years. I have done this. Yeah. You could do it, but let's just say, for sake of argument, that a rabbi doesn't say a thing like this if he doesn't have a tradition to back him up on this. He was speaking from his education, Stanley. He was speaking from his education and his training.
You know that not all students are good students, even though they've had the same education.
Oh, I know. Have you met Dr. James?
Right. Now, again, I am with you on organized religion. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. And I believe that you're not saying that Judaism is especially wicked in this sense. We agree on this, right?
Correct.
I think Judaism is.
No, yesterday I spent all day criticizing Mondami for taking his oath of office.
Well, then I don't understand what we're disagreeing. I don't understand what we're supposedly disagreeing on then. But Epstein is using Judaism to not take responsibility because of his own flaws. Okay, if he's going to point the finger at a rabbi that has been condemned by mainstream Israeli society, okay, that represents the sociological lowest and most illiterate group of people, okay, I don't know that Epstein is really being fair, and I don't think that we should go with that kind of. He's obviously pointing the finger, not taking responsibility himself.
Well, you're going to be disappointed because Epstein also. You're just going to be disappointed because Epstein also spends time on his island with Ehud Barak, who is the Prime Minister of England.
Yeah, but he's not a religious figure. He's not a cultural figure. So what does that have to do with anything, with all due respect? We're going to break out every Jew now and say, what?
I think you're going to find that Epstein has more connections with Judaism and Israel than just these two. That's what I'm saying.
But then again, you see... I grew up with Judaism in Israel, and I don't have these opinions. And the vast majority of people that I know have grew up, okay, and they don't have these opinions. Now, if you're going to talk about certain negative things that have been said
about Stanley, when you say you grew up with this idea, and you did, because you read it every single year, you grew up with this idea, and you read the Bible every year, that God, the good God, the gracious God, the God of Israel, the all-encompassing, all-powerful center of the universe God, also said, go and kill the Amalekites, kill the children, and kill the sheep and the goats and the women.
Yeah. How many Jews have killed an Amalekite in the last 2,000 years?
Well, you know, don't you, that Benjamin Netanyahu very explicitly said these Palestinians are Amalek?
Did he say that?
He did say that. Are you just learning this for the first time?
Did he say they were Amalekites?
He did. Let me get you the quote. I'll get you the link. I wouldn't give you something like that and not give you the link.
Well, you know, we don't get that.
Easy to find.
Even the worst enemy.
Amalek. No, he did say this. And that's a little bit of an issue. Stanley, I don't believe you when you say that growing up, praying, thinking great good thoughts, celebrating good thoughts, singing music to a God who kills children is healthy.
I'm totally with you. I know that you're going to tell me now in Passover that God killed the firstborns, and I'm not denying anything that you're saying.
Here's a link I put to NPR. I'll help you with it a little bit.
Once again, Netanyahu is not he's a secular, he's an atheist, by the way. He's an atheist. You know that, okay? But again, what I'm saying is that in Judaism, in Genesis 1:26,